Yuki was born on Earth and proceeded to live a happy life until the day his parents died in a car crash. The courts did nothing to right this wrong, causing Yuki to begin planning his revenge on society. However, he quickly realized the only way to achieve change is to become a politician, but was suddenly and magically brought to this fantasy world. His summoner, the former Demon Lord Kazalim, attempted to steal his body. However, Yuki's innate genius, alongside his unique skill, Initiator, allowed him to create anti-skill, which resulted in Kazalim serving Yuki instead. Then after exploring this world a bit, Yuki decided he will take control of this undeveloped world in order to guide it to a proper future. After realizing Granville tricked them, freeing Cronoa, and escaping the cathedral, this group is found traveling toward the east, though an unbelievably powerful man blocks their path. Footman steps forward, followed by Misery instantly ending that confrontation. Demon Lord Guy noticed they are fleeing to the Eastern Empire, and he doesn't like the idea of Emperor Gadora growing any stronger, knowing their chances of escape to be exactly 0. Yuki prepares to use his full strength, and is excited to uncover just how powerful the world's strongest being actually is. This Demon Lord is amused that his opponent thinks he stands a chance, and Yuki declares he was always planning to take Guy down eventually. Though off to the side, Laplace is frozen in fear, racking his brain for a way to save his allies. But surprisingly, Guy promises to let them leave, assuming Yuki can win. With a massive kick, pain jolts through Yuki's leg as if kicking a brick wall. Following a taunt, Guy attacks with flames. Of course, magic won't work on Yuki, but he dodges at the last second, rolling on the ground to extinguish his clothes. It turns out Guy is well aware of Yuki's anti-skill, so he simply used an art that conjured genuine oxygen-burning fire. Very annoyed with his opponent's cocky attitude, Yuki unleashes an assortment of skills, instantly evolving himself into a saint. Now containing a magical count rivaling Demon Lords, Guy proclaims,
"How disappointing."
One overwhelming beatdown later, Yuki can barely move, as Laplace knows their only hope of escaping is if somebody sacrifices themselves. Stepping forward, he declares to be a hired hand, and as such would love to work under Guy instead. With a laugh, Yuki struggles to his feet, ordering his friend to cut the act. In his weakness, Yuki overhears a voice deep inside, offering him the power to take over the world. Turning it down, he states that Guy doesn't actually want to kill them, because it's obvious they'd already be dead if he wished it. Of course, this Demon Lord isn't about to reveal his reasons, but that doesn't stop Yuki from offering to work together. Since Guy is too powerful, the next logical step in Yuki's world domination is to conquer the Eastern Empire, essentially declaring that he'll return someday in the future to challenge Guy once again. You see, Yuki's already deduced that Guy doesn't want the East to win the war, and this Demon Lord agrees to cooperate by letting them go sabotage the Eastern Empire, as surely it will be amusing to watch these jesters meddle in their game. The group then meets up with Kagami, who can't believe they survived that encounter. Yuki, however, is busy thinking about that eerie voice he heard within himself, and determines it must have been his newest skill, Avarice. This time, seeking it out, the voice asks if he's ready to become one, prompting Yuki to decline. It wonders why he bothered coming then, just as Yuki overpowers Avarice with his sheer willpower.
The unique skill Avarice has evolved into the ultimate skill, Mammon, Lord of Gluttony.
Man, all this reading really makes me tired. Luckily, Manta Sleep is sponsoring this video. If you couldn't tell, Manta Sleep specializes in sleep masks and are leagues above the competition. Not only is it easily adjustable, but this Sleep Mask Pro has built-in eye cups, preventing any pressure from being placed on your eyes. They've even designed the padding to taper off toward your ear, making it just as comfortable for side sleepers. Honestly, I wish I had one of these during college. You see, I drove to and from school every day and would spend my free time napping in my car. This mask would have made that so much easier because it's literally pitch black inside this thing. Don't believe me? Just ask Romeo. You can head on over to their website using my link, which is posted in the comment and description, but be sure to use code UNSEEN at checkout for 10% off. Upon returning to Tempest, Rimuru is excited to finally relax. However, Leon and Luminous arrive the following day to discuss recent events. Chloe starts off by giving a thorough rundown of her time loop situation, causing Veldora to exclaim that Hinata was the hero who sealed him away. This makes their battle record 1-1, and Rimuru desperately attempts to stop the tiebreaker match from starting. Next, they discuss how Rimuru and Hinata died in a previous loop, and that their murderer was likely from the Eastern Empire. Apparently, the East even fought off Veldora, sending him into a chaotic rampage destroying Tempest. In that same timeline, Demon Lords turned against one another, and Rimuru suddenly realizes he died before Cronoa was created, so he wonders why she loves him so much. If it wasn't confusing enough, Rimuru somehow came back to life, probably due to Raphael interfering, and wound up saving Chloe, who was actually Cronoa at that point. Though later on, she was defeated by Guy, and it was while dying in Rimuru's arms that she was sent back in time, probably due to Raphael interfering. So to summarize, in a previous time loop, Rimuru and Hinata both died battling the East. Veldora went berserk destroying Tempest, followed by Rimuru being revived. Our slime saved Cronoa, who ended up being gravely injured by Guy, and was then sent back in time to Chloe. It looks like I forgot to mention that in this timeline where Rimuru died, he did not evolve into a demon lord yet. In the current timeline, Rimuru just has to worry about the East, as Luminous promises to keep Dog Rule in check. Though with his sons living in Tempest, it's hard to believe he'd willingly attack. The topic then switches to Cronoa's murderer, as Veldora explains that Demon Lord Guy is something known as an arbitrator. Apparently, Veldora's older brother, Veldanaba, the Star King Dragon, created this entire world and placed arbiters in place to prevent its destruction. So in theory, since Cronoa isn't currently going berserk, Guy shouldn't have a problem with her. To be on the safe side, Leon will still go speak with him, just as they hear a familiar voice approaching the room. The group is shocked Guy got so close without them noticing. No signs of hostility. Diablo politely opens the door. Guy says hello. Door slams shut in his face. Letting himself inside, Guy is scolded by Diablo for arriving unannounced. Luminous thinks Noir's behavior is to be expected, causing Leon to finally realize Diablo is a primordial. 4 other hotheads charge inside as reinforcements, but are swiftly booted right back out. Due to that intrusion, 2 Demon Lords demand to know why their nemesis, Jean and Violet, are here. Verifying they're referring to Carrara and Ultima, he puts all the blame on Diablo. She exclaims 1 primordial wasn't enough, followed by Guy saying this is part of the reason why he's come here. Then for the first time, Rimuru truly ponders the term primordial, before bluntly asking if Diablo is a first demon, as Luminous and Leon can't believe Rimuru was unaware. Launching into the grand tale of his past adventures, you find out Diablo actually knew Shizu, which is why he eagerly waited for Rimuru to summon him. At Guy's request, Dino is brought inside, only to be scolded for allowing Rimuru to name the primordials. It turns out he was specifically sent here to keep an eye on our slime. Veldora doesn't think naming is such a big deal, but Luminous chides him since the grown-ups are talking. I mean, when you break it down, this is obviously Guy's fault for sending such a terrible spy, and Dino even admits that he warned Guy he couldn't handle this. In all seriousness, Diablo is the one who recruited the 3 girls, leaving Guy to admit Noir has always been a bit crazy. Though Rimuru still receives a lecture for throwing the world out of balance, and for ruining Misery's mission. Apparently, for a long time now, Guy has been purposely acting like a villain in order to give humanity a common enemy. Then Granville successfully ruined the human alliance, so it was Misery's job to slaughter the council in order to unify them once again. Testarossa, however, got in the way, and Guy demands to know how Rimuru will fix the situation. Unexpectedly, Diablo speaks up, proclaiming terror to be a weak form of control. That is why Lord Rimuru plans to rule the economy, and thus create a peaceful system which the lowly humans will rely upon. Guy isn't fully against this idea, and Rimuru thinks about how Diablo's interpretation isn't necessarily wrong, but ruling was never our slime's motivation. Of course, Lord Rimuru can manage all of the West with ease, and Guy actually gives his blessing, even though he expects Rimuru to fail in this game. Moving on, they discuss the Eastern Empire's upcoming attack, and their worries about a potential invasion route through the Dwarven Kingdom. Of course, King Gazeel isn't going to just let the East march through, so Rimuru is more concerned with Yuki. Our slime doesn't necessarily hate the guy, but any form of trust is out the window. Lastly, Guy brings up the main reason he's arrived, which is to discuss Cronoa. Rimuru gives an explanation, while purposely leaving out important details such as the time travel. Red doesn't buy that BS, until Leon and Luminous chime in as well. The fact Chloe is a genuine hero still needs to be addressed. Leon stands up defensively, causing Guy to proclaim he's not going to hurt her. Moving faster than our trio can react, a sword closes in on Chloe, but is blocked, followed by them complementing each other's strength. Apparently, they both use the same extremely rare skill, and proceed to exchange numerous more blows. Attempted analysis of their actions has failed. Dangerously jumping between them, Rimuru is scolded since Guy was only testing her abilities. Though she's happy, he worried for her, and gives him a kiss on the cheek before shrinking back down. You learn Cronoa took control after the initial attack, though it doesn't stop a pissed off Leon from warning Rimuru to keep his distance. New possible theory: if Chloe's ability stops time, then it explains why it can't be analyzed. which reminds Rimuru that this sweet little girl really is stronger than himself. Luminous and Leon then team up, forcing Gi to back down. This entire group then collectively enjoys a feast of Japanese-style food. The next day, Leon wants to take Chloe with him, but his offer is rejected as she declares to not being a child anymore, which causes Leon to interrogate Rimuru for any hidden meanings in that statement. Luminous then says her goodbyes, followed by Diablo bursting into a tale about himself once again, resulting in Gi making a quick exit. Then with all the guests gone, Rimuru is left alone to contemplate the upcoming war. Numerous months pass as the Empire continues stockpiling supplies along their border. In response, Tempest has upped its security in order to counter any potential spies. Then with the train tracks completed to Dworgen and Inglacia, the Magitrains begin real-world testing. The ever-building anxiety of war breaking out has Rimuru wondering if he should just go attack them first, but logically he knows the Forest of Jura gives them a defensive advantage. It's more or less the only possible invasion route, as sea monsters prevent a naval assault, dragons prevent a mountain crossing, and demons run wild in the north. Even so, there's still numerous strategies the East could pursue, which results in our frustrated slime saying screw it, as they'll just have to wait and see. On another note, Carrara and Ultima have been fighting over every little thing, which has forced Diablo to step in as a mediator. With the hopes of ending this rivalry once and for all, he took them into the dungeon and beat the absolute shit out of them. However, it didn't quell their spirits in the slightest. In regard to local issues, Rimuru is becoming more and more concerned with Tempest's employment rate. The issue isn't people willing to work, it's whether or not those people have a useful skill set. So to combat this problem, they've built schools to teach citizens various skills and jobs. Tempest has also seen a large influx of military volunteers, causing them to debate how to properly structure their growing military. Of course, Demon Lord Rimuru will be the supreme commander, but he appoints Benimaru as the lone commander, even giving him full control of their troops. Under him will be multiple generals such as Gobta, and Diablo promises to have Testarossa keep an eye on that one. Now to break it down, the 1st Army Corps is led by Gobta and Hakuro. This includes 100 Goblin Riders alongside 12,000 green numbers, many of whom are new soldiers. The 2nd Army Corps is led by Geld and contains 2,000 yellow numbers, consisting of the most seasoned High Orcs. There's an additional 35,000 orange numbers, aka newer High Orcs, which also doubles as the engineering team. The 3rd Army Corps is led by the one and only Gabiru. Obviously, this includes his elite 100 members of Team Hiru, but more interestingly, 3,000 blue numbers, whom will each be trained to ride a wyvern. There's also Benimaru's 300-strong Team Kurenai, each of which can rival a paladin. Soei's team Kurayami is 100 deep and could be described as stealthy problem children. Then finally, there's an additional 100 members in Shion's Team Reborn. She specifically trained them to be near unkillable due to their regeneration and resistances. This group will be assigned as Rimuru's personal guard, however they will not be following his orders. You then learn Shion has another secret force which includes Dagrul's sons, however it's more like her personal fan club. Outside of Tempest, there's 150,000 troops from the Western forces, 30,000 under the Magicborn United, and another 20,000 for the Volunteer Army. Our slime is shocked the Western forces has grown so big, and it's explained they've had a lot of volunteers since it began offering free food and housing. Turning attention to the Magicborn United, you discover it's mainly the remnants of what was once Clayman's army. This group started off antagonistic toward Rimuru, however Geld was successfully able to sway their hearts. Lastly, the Volunteer Army is made up of humans, a lot of which being random adventurers and mercenaries. For now, they'll leave the Western Force in Testarossa's hands, especially since Moss is the perfect person to coordinate that massive area. Rimuru suggests for Benimaru to take charge of the Magicborn United, however he thinks Rieger would be more appropriate. Though after some further discussion, Benimaru accepts the position, and agrees to have Team Kurenai whip them into shape, before naming them the Red Numbers and 4th Army Corps. Picking a leader for the Volunteer Army becomes problematic, as Rimuru would like to choose a human in order to show that anyone can rise up in this country. They offer up and shoot down multiple options, but it's Shion who comes up with their solution, of having Masayuki lead the Volunteer Army. A bit later, upon being told this, Masayuki is less than pleased, but Rimuru isn't backing down, especially since he softened up Bovix in order to allow the hero's party to delve deeper into the dungeon. So in total, Tempest has 52,000 diehard soldiers, an additional 50,000 somewhat less loyal fighters, and 150,000 troops worth of reinforcements in the west. Even with all this, Rimuru still isn't confident it's enough. Granted, they also have Veldora, other demon lords, and Diablo's personal army as well. Though the question still remains as to why the East even wants to invade. And also, why did Guy refer to this as a mere game? The Eastern Empire, officially known as the Nazca Namrium Almeria United Eastern Empire, is technically controlled by its nobility. However, they're all just figureheads as Emperor Ladora Nam al Nazca rules with absolute authority. Wow, I actually first tried that line. 350 years ago, their military was decimated by Veldora, so they've had to gradually rebuild their power ever since. Their armored division consists of mechanized soldiers and tanks. The magical beast division is, as you'd expect, magical beasts. Then the composite division is a group of powerful individuals who don't work well in large teams. You see, where the West focuses on sword and magic, the East prefers to rely on technology. The East also loves to exploit otherworlders for their unique skills, just as much as the knowledge they bring. A certain great sorcerer named Gadora is rather obsessed with otherworlders, and has gained massive amounts of knowledge by living multiple lifetimes through his magic ability to reincarnate himself. Regardless of division, the top 100 military officers are known as the Imperial Guardians, each of whom are given Legend-class equipment. A Guardian's primary job is to protect Emperor Ladora. You see, in the East military, literally anybody can move up by challenging and defeating a higher-ranking officer in a duel. The number 1 ranked person holds the title Marshal, while positions 2 through 4 are considered the Generals. Though just recently, for the first time in many years, a division leader was taken down, more specifically the Composite Division leader. To make it even more unreal, the challenger enlisted less than a year ago, and his name is Yuki Kagurazaka. Sometime later, the 3 heads of Cerberus congratulate their boss on becoming the Composite Division commander. Yuki is now in contact with the great sorcerer Gadora, and they move on to discuss Rimuru's control of the West, including his new military base and magitrains. Yuki's sure that Rimuru will prioritize keeping casualties to a minimum. Granted, he's outnumbered roughly 10 to 1. Even so, that slime still has a good chance of winning, though Vega is ready to overpower Tempest at a moment's notice. Outside of his army, Rimuru still has a whole swarm of ridiculously powerful individuals, making Yuki very glad that slime isn't his direct enemy. Kogli then reveals that Tempest has been performing evacuation drills, except oddly enough, everyone flees into the city, followed by it disappearing, leaving only a single gate behind. This must be the effect of the dungeon they've heard so much about, and it might just be the perfect trap to catch the Eastern Empire by surprise. Misha discovers that Yuki's current goal is to find the right moment to stage a coup, all the while trying to manipulate Gadora into fighting Rimuru. Including the Great Sorcerer, there's 2 other people Yuki is worried about. One might be the otherworlder named Tatsuya Kondo, who's currently in charge of the Imperial Info Bureau. Now the other is a woman with an unbelievably strong presence, yet nobody seems to realize she even exists. For the time being, Damrata is to investigate Tatsuya, Misha is to continue mingling with the Armored Division commander, and Vega will go undercover in the Magic Beast Division. Kogli wonders if they can really pull this off, and Yuki truly hopes they all stay safe doing so. The hardest part will be turning the Emperor into their puppet, though if the war drags on long enough, Kogli might be able to achieve Demon Lord status once again. Not to mention, Yuki is slowly powering up as well. Now, depending on who you ask, the Empire has widely different opinions concerning Veldora. A lot of the military wish to attack or even control the mighty Storm Dragon, while Gadora, who lived through the previous attempt, knows that's a futile effort not even worth considering. Then again, all Gadora cares about is eradicating Luminism, since the clergy killed a close friend of his long ago. Recently, he has heard rumors of the clergy being murdered, and the roses being taken down, but Gadora isn't foolish enough to believe them. Though one thing that has caught his eye is that new Demon Lord Slime, and he's very interested to learn more about Tempest's dungeon. This old sorcerer meets up with Yuki and 3 of his underlings. This trio has apparently been handpicked for an investigation of the dungeon, though Yuki is hoping for Gadora to join them. Mark has heard rumors that this dungeon is nothing more than an obstacle course, though Shinji trusts there's a good reason it needs investigating. You come to find out these 3 are each part of Yuki's secret team, which will execute the coup. They're hoping the dungeon will distract the East long enough for Yuki's plan. The trio freaks out hearing this in front of Gadora, but it turns out the sorcerer only holds loyalty for the Emperor, not the Empire as a whole. Then due to his interest in Demon Lord Rimuru, Gadora will join them on this mission, as he wishes to determine the true source behind Farminus' army being wiped out, and his apprentice Rosin will surely know what actually happened. Shinji states that this mission might be extremely dangerous, followed by Gadora revealing that Demon Lord Ramirez's dungeon has disappeared, meaning this unknown dungeon is likely her new home. The trio sets out toward Tempest, while Gadora makes his way to Farminus. Rosin assumed this presence was dead, and in a panic orders his apprentices to meet him at the front gate. Sayer and Grigory tell this old man to leave, but a terrified Rosin takes a knee, letting Gadora through. The following day, a meeting is held, with everyone important except Mirin, who's still recovering from childbirth. They ask why Gadora has come, but instead of answering, he points out the primary weakness of each individual here. This pisses off both Sayer and Grigory, who wind up challenging him to a duel, though they overwhelmingly lose the 2 versus 1. Everything so far has went exactly as Gadora planned, until Sayer declares him to be weaker than that demon, followed by Grigory putting Gadora on par with that dog. They find out Gadora has come to display his overwhelming power in the hopes they'll surrender to the Eastern Empire. With Farminus' help, they could easily capture Dworgen, though Rosin warns that Rimuru won't allow that. Of course, the sorcerer wanted them to betray Tempest, but that's simply not possible, as Farminus' economy heavily relies on Tempest. It's then revealed that the remaining Rozos are powerless. The clergy, including Granville, were wiped out, and that Rimuru single-handedly decimated Farminus' army. It suddenly dawns on Gadora that Yuki purposely withheld this information, and the group reveals Yuki had manipulated all of them as well. Now fully understanding the terror that is this slime, Gadora also realizes his revenge no longer has a target, meaning his reason for collaborating with the Empire is gone. The only remaining objective he could have is killing Luminous herself, but this thought is interrupted, as Rosin believes Gadora should try convincing the East not to attack. If the invasion continues, Rosin will be forced to become Gadora's enemy, since his new master Diablo is the demon Sayer proclaims to be far more powerful than Gadora. Of course, this mighty old sorcerer doesn't believe this, until Diablo is revealed to be a primordial, one that serves as Rimuru's butler. There's also mention of a red-eyed, white-haired girl, all the while Gadora falls deeper and deeper into the pits of terror and despair. He then remembers where Shinji, Mark, and Zen are currently heading. Sergi, Jack Peacock, and Kari Fives, thank you so much for becoming my newest patrons.